My mouse. Okay, so I am Eva Sheie, Director of Online Strategy for Real Patient Ratings, and if you aren't familiar with my background, I have about 12 years of experience in SEO just for cosmetic medicine, and my favorite subject in the whole world is how to convert more leads from the web. So our special guest from Cosmetic Social Media is our good friend Monique Ramsey, who is very well known as an expert in social media. And Monique's going to share with us some things about reviews and how to use them to communicate with social media. And then our Director of Business Services and our super report ninja, April Linden, will be sharing a new report with you and a couple strategies for communicating to increase conversions after consult. So just to catch you up on where we are, as of yesterday, we have surveyed 27,524 patients after consult and surgery, which is incredible. And we could not do that without you. And I want to say from all of us, thank you so much for that. That breaks down to 13,155 consult surveys, 14,369 surgery surveys, and of that group, 17,400 agreed to let their comments be shared online. And when they say that, they give you permission to use them on RPR, but also in your own marketing. So that's kind of where we're going to go today with that. This is my little buddy, the content monster, and let me tell you, the content monster is always hungry. You can feed him anything. You know, we've all put this kind of content on the web and wondered if it worked or not. But I bet we would all like to feed the content monster things that get patients to pick up the phone or fill out a form. I've never been a big fan of just putting stuff out there for no reason. Like press releases are a good example of that. And I even once saw somebody say, press release, I just updated my website. And that kind of content has always bothered me because it doesn't connect with humans and it makes you look like you're not paying attention. So like everything else we do here at RPR, we love to look at data to help understand what the content monster likes to eat. Reviews are definitely one area of content that helps you convert more leads, but I have 4 more very special areas of content that I rely on to help increase conversions, and I'm going to let you in on what those are. So as always, I'll send out the slides and a link to the recording after we're done, and if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the questions box on your GoToMeeting control panel. Let me remind you that this right here on this screen, this is SEO. This is what I believe SEO is. I have always believed this is what it is, along with a whole bunch of technical things. The very first priority of any SEO program should be increasing conversions. And so I was lucky enough in my first job over 10 years ago to have this really strange setup where I could write something on the internet and actually get the phone call from the page of content I had just written. So instead of ringing to the doctor's office, it rang straight to my office. And then I would tell the patient, well, I think there's a doctor here, because this was in the very beginning and there weren't doctors all over the internet. So it got to be this really fun process of writing things and getting immediate feedback by phone call. And so I didn't know it at the time, but this feedback loop would be really important to figuring out a strong content strategy for cosmetic practice later on. So some of these things on my list here are really easy, and some are a little more complex that you might need some help with. So number 1, contact form on every page, easy to contact you. 2, use the word best and the word top on your website. 3, your business name is the most important keyword that you have. 4, you have to share cost information and be transparent about cost. And 5, reviews. And then I've got a couple secret weapons I'm going to throw in at the end just because I can't help myself. So making connecting easy is so critical to driving conversions up. We know having a contact form on every page of your website will increase your conversions on the web, meaning people who fill out the form. by up to 30%. So if you only have a form on your contact page, you're missing out on a lot of leads. And the analogy I like to use for this is, if you were in a department store, would they only have one register on the top floor? Of course not. That's why they have registers all over the place, and that's even why Nordstrom, if you've been there lately, has started letting you check out anywhere in the store on their little mobile devices, because they know if you're standing next to a salesperson with a register at the moment you're ready to buy, you're going to convert and walk out the door instead of not convert and walk out the door. So make it really easy. The only things you require on a contact form like this are name and email. And then ask the patient, how do you want to hear from us? Do you want us to call you or do you want us to email you? Because calling is much more effective. And if you know that that patient wants to be called, that makes it way easier for your staff. Now, one thing I want to point out about this form here is that birthday field is troubling me, because I don't know if it's optional and I don't know why you're asking me that. So one thing I would do on this form is add the word optional, or add a little link that explains why are we asking you this, so you're not making them uncomfortable about the question. Okay. The other thing about your own website is that every way of contacting you has to be extremely obvious and on every page. Your social links need to open in new pages. Your phone needs to be clickable on a mobile device, so you can test it. Just go to your website on your smartphone, and if your phone is a clickable link that you can call, then you're in good shape. And then make sure your address is on every page and links to your location page. Okay, number 2. This is one of my deepest secrets that I don't like to share very often, but I was in the mood today, so here you go. Most of you are not comfortable calling yourselves the best plastic surgeon, but you have to consider other ways of using the words best and top, because the results on the SEO side are unbelievable. This is a plastic surgeon in Bellevue, Washington, and if you look closely at the words, Bellevue isn't in a single one of these top 10. So what I love about this is it got very hard over the last few years to make this website show up for Seattle searches, because he's not in Seattle. But I was able to get around it by attaching the word best and top to the word Seattle, and nobody else was doing it. So it was a huge advantage for this particular practice. In the last year, and I ran this yesterday, so this was up to yesterday, this plastic surgeon's website got 2,300 more visitors because of the word best, and 932 more visitors because of the word top. And these are really good visitors. If you see at the top of the report, they average over 10 pages per visit and over 5 minutes on the site, which is extraordinary. The average is usually under 5 pages per visit and under 2 minutes. On top of this, I know, who cares about visitors? We only care about conversions, right? 111 people converted and filled out a form on the word best, and another 53 on the word top. So because of this content, I was able to generate 164 more leads in 1 year, just by writing about this doctor's participation in the King 5 Best of Western Washington contest. And so that leads into, how do you tactfully say, I am the best? Well, you don't. You say you strive to be the best, or you were named in the magazine's best of issue, your patients voted you the best. So if these opportunities come along, don't write them off immediately as junk, because what you can turn them into is extremely valuable. So if you were with us last month, you've heard this already, but I want to recap quickly because it's so important that your name, your actual name, and your business name are always going to be your number 1 top keyword ever. It would be very unusual for another keyword or a procedure term to get more traction than your own name. If you have access to your Google Analytics, you can look in the organic traffic report and see what percentage of your web visitors find you by your name, but it'll always be about 50%. So remember also that demand for reviews is still growing and will continue to grow, and that demand is going to change now too. So where it used to be we need reviews, now they want specific reviews about specific procedures, and they want them to be new. And if you think about before and after photos in those terms, for so long all we needed was photos. Now we need photos that you can filter by implant type, by height, by weight, by age. So think this is where reviews are going. And this is where I get to remind you that your RPR profile really helps with this a lot. And we're adding abilities to filter. The more reviews you have, the more you can filter and drill down into specific stuff. So that's what's coming for us here. And we also link to your website and all of your social properties, and with extra features like our group profile to boost searches for group practice names. There's all kinds of things we're doing to help you with that. Okay, so one thing you can definitely count on that you all have going for you is that Google is actually on your side. Even though they do a lot of things that make us crazy, there's one thing we can count on, and that is that in the natural order of the Google universe, your website should be number one for your name. If you search for your own name and you're not number one, you have issues that need to be fixed. So what does that look like? I picked a doctor and I found the absolute most perfect results you could possibly imagine. In my world, this is everything in its right place in the SEO universe. So the doctor's own paid ad is first. This works really well. It sends a signal to the user that they have found the right doctor. And those clicks are very inexpensive. They're usually 5 or 10 cents a piece. And then it blocks other people from advertising on your name too, which I've seen over and over from competitor sites trying to steal your name. Then the next two results are the doctor's homepage and the doctor's bio page. And then the next result after that is RPR, which is great, but if I don't pay attention to the fact that it's RPR, it is still the best result because it has the most reviews, and that's what Google wants to put there. So Google would consider this to be the most useful information for the consumer, which was our goal, and I'm thrilled that we've been able to accomplish this. So the next kind of pixie dust that makes a lot of people really uncomfortable is really powerful, and it is about sharing prices online. If you're willing to share cost information on your website, you will be giving yourself an incredible competitive advantage in your market. And the objection I hear a lot is that you don't want to share your prices with your competitors. But think about this. They won't have to secret shop you and waste your staff's time to find out your prices, which they're going to do anyway. Plus, your patients will be far more educated at consult, your web traffic will go up, and you will get more conversions online. To write about your prices on your website, you want to add a full page just with prices listed by procedure, and then you want to add it to each procedure page in the form of a question, which Google absolutely loves. And you don't have to give exact prices either. You should give ranges because people understand they can't get the exact price before they come in. So here's an example of what a great price page looks like with ranges. He just lists all the categories with the range and a huge disclaimer that this isn't the actual price, but it's an estimate and that you're going to get your own price when you come in. Why is this so important? Oh, by the way, this is from Hess Plastic Surgery. In the main menu, you can go look at his page called Cosmetic Surgery Costs if you want to check it out. And La Jolla Cosmetic Surgery also has a really good pricing page if you want to look at theirs. This is so important because 2 reasons. You don't want to use your consult time for a patient who can't afford the procedure when someone who can afford it could have been there instead. And we know from the consult patient study that the availability of appointment times is a top driver of scheduling surgery. So if you're educating patients about costs prior to consult, you're reducing the number of consults who fill the space in your schedule who are not financially prepared. We also know from the data that the patients who are prepared for the cost ahead of time are 21% more likely to schedule. They're focused on the other top driver of scheduling, which is receiving and absorbing medical procedure information from the surgeon rather than worrying about a big financial surprise at the end of the consult. And so here's the numbers that we have to back that up, which are phenomenal. Of the nearly 13,000 consult patients surveyed, of those patients who scheduled surgery directly at the consult, there's a 21% increase in scheduling when the fee estimate given is about what the patient is expecting or is less than they are expecting. And if you want to see this report for your own practice, we're totally here to help you with that. This is one of our favorites. And then my last point about price is to make financing information really easy for people to request online. And it's so easy to build forms on websites now that are custom. Make your financing page have a special financing form. Tell them who in the office is the expert. Put their picture up there. Tell them to call directly and talk to that person, because we know you all have somebody who's a genius at getting people financed, and you want to create that connection ahead of time online. Last but not least, my favorite Pixie Dust, which is reviews and how you can use reviews to convert more leads online. Why are reviews Pixie Dust? So when you put them on your own website, which a couple years ago or not even that long ago, people would have said was a crazy idea. When you put them on your own website, patients will complete the Contact Us form 2 to 8 times more often. And I studied this across about 20 different websites in the nation with the help of an outside SEO expert who I love. His name is Clark Mackey at Cake Websites. He and I together worked on figuring out how to measure this. And we didn't just measure reviews. We included all kinds of things like patient stories, thank you cards. Anything generated by a patient was included. And this is what we discovered. And in some cases, I've even seen 10 times more people fill out the form when they've interacted with that content. So it's incredibly important. And then we know in the office that the likelihood to schedule surgery increases by 32% when they've read reviews ahead of consult, along with other materials, which April's going to go into for us. And this is compared to receiving no information at all before consult. So here's my quick do's and don'ts about using reviews in marketing and in these processes. Do include a link to read reviews when confirming consult appointments by text or by email. Share these comments from your patients on Facebook. This is great content for social sharing, and that's Monique is going to go crazy on that one. Use it on your website to create specific review pages like breast augmentation reviews. Right now, Google favors these pages a lot. I don't know if it always will, but you can get a lot of traffic right now by creating these extra pages. Use them in your print marketing, print them out and put them in your photo books. Think about starting to record video reviews of your patients and put them on YouTube, and then title them Video Review Breast Augmentation in Marietta, Georgia. And remember to say thank you to people for writing reviews, either online or if you've seen them write a review and you know who they are, give them a call. They're expecting anonymity with real patient ratings, so I wouldn't really recommend calling and saying you saw them take the survey. But if you spot them on other sites writing reviews, call and say thank you. Make sure you understand the blemish effect, because it'll help you sleep at night, and I'll explain that in a second. And then here's my don'ts, and there's my beating the dead horse, because I feel like I say this stuff every day. Don't call them testimonials, not only because people don't Google the word testimonials, but because it gives the wrong connotation. And in some states, testimonial advertising is actually illegal, so you don't want to go in that direction. Don't incentive people for writing reviews. Obviously, you can say thank you, but you can't bribe them. Don't overstress about negative reviews. Do not go to your negative reviews. If you ever get one, don't go there and click on it a whole bunch, because you're just telling Google how exciting this page is, and it's only going to move up. And then be very, very cautious where you send people to write reviews for you on other websites. And especially take note of where those websites are showing ads for your competition, and you can't control that or turn it off. I only know of one site where you can turn it off, and that is realself.com, where they do have the ability for you to turn off the ads to your competition, and they deliver a lot of features in return when you sign up for that program. And if you know of other sites where you have this ability, please tell me which ones they are, because I'd love to know. Finally, the blemish effect is an amazing study that was done at Stanford 2 years ago. I highly recommend reading it. Basically, the conclusion was that when consumers get very mild doses of negative information about a product or service, that blemish highlights the positive information and makes it seem more positive. So that's how even bad reviews become pixie dust that help. Finally, my 3 secret weapons. This is Granny who thinks she can use whiteout on the screen, and I just thought she was funny. But I love to have people test websites who are either very uncomfortable with computers or have never seen the website that you're looking at before, because watching what they do can be very enlightening. Or you can use my favorite company for this, which is usertesting.com, and you pay a small fee. I think it's $30 or less even. And within an hour, someone in the demographic you choose will give you the feedback you want and tell you what they think of their website. And they have no skin in the game. It doesn't matter what they think, but you could get like a 55-year-old woman to pretend she's going to have a facelift, and they will talk about their experience with your website and record the whole thing and then send you the recording. And I've learned some incredible things from this. This is my next secret weapon, which you might need to ask your web people for help with. You definitely need to ask for help with, but we can install cookies so that the keyword the person used in Google makes it all the way through to the lead when they convert. So sometimes I'm really surprised by what they search for and convert, and it's never what you think it is. Nobody ever converts on breast augmentation Houston. It's always really unusual things and very specific. So my last secret weapon before I hand this off to Monique, get excited, is back on the subject of price transparency. I love the mission of this company and their tool. Basically, a patient adds using their iPad app or their iPhone app or their website, patient creates a wish list for what they want, and then their system sends back a price quote directly from you, the surgeon, and then you get their lead at the same time. So it's a give and take, but it's completely free to the patient, and it starts at $9.99 a month for the surgeon. So I say, amazing. It's so cool. It's totally worth trying to see if it works. And it was founded by a board certified plastic surgeon. So it's not some 22-year-old trying to build an app. I highly recommend checking that out. Without further ado, I want to introduce our good friend and social media expert, Monique Ramsey, who is, I don't know how she's old enough to have 20 plus years of experience in our field, but she's a certified relationship marketing and social media strategist. She's been awarded with tons of awards. She's very, very well known in cosmetic medicine and in San Diego and around the country for her work in social media. And so I'm going to hand it off to her, and she's going to take over. Monique, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear
Awesome.
me?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, well, I'm laughing because if you want to know how you can have 20 plus years and do it, you just use Photoshop. And so, so that's my number one secret. Yeah, and then having some key people in the biz, right? That's always a nice perk of working in this industry. So anyway, welcome everybody. It's nice to be here. What we're going to do today is just kind of go over how to take the reviews you're getting through Real Patient Ratings and around the web and to integrate them in with your social media. And because social media is an amplifier. And so once you have something great that you want to amplify and send around, then social media is a great way to do that. So, and people love positive stories. They love to read about those things. So a little bit about your customer, because the customers are changing, and I'm sure you've seen this in your practice. They're more empowered because they're more informed, and they're getting so much information from the web. And because they're more informed, they're more demanding, and they're more discerning. They have the tools at their disposal to really take everything in their hands and go much further than before, and they didn't have to rely on what you tell them in the office. Because now they might not even make it to your office if they don't see what they like online as they do their research. And but there's some really good things about these people. One is a lot of times when they come in your practice, they're 7/8 of the way there. It's really, they've been able to do so much investigative work ahead of time that really by the time they show up, many of them, not all of them obviously, are they've preloaded with a lot of knowledge. So they're more savvy. And as far as online, they're going to share more. Everybody's starting to share more, and they'll share more if they get some value in return. And that doesn't mean like you're going to buy them off for a good review. I really just mean more in general. They're going to be everyone's a little more open now. Not everyone, but the younger consumer, and as they grow, your breast dog crowd, and as they grow into becoming the facelift crowd, these are people who were born with the phone in their hand, and they're going to share more, but there needs to be, they want to have equal footing. And so, maybe you're going to be giving them a white paper on, top 5 breast dog tips as you're shopping, or what you need to know about Botox, get a free report. And they're going to give you more information and filling out a form with maybe their name and phone number and address or whatever, if you're giving them something of value. It can't really be too one-sided because they do have so much information at their disposal. They make decisions differently because they have a lot of information, and a lot of times they're going not just on, you can't say I'm board certified anymore and have that make a difference. It comes down to a lot of different connections and kind of how tech savvy you are, and how how quickly they got to be seen. And, there's so many things, but more and more of those become online things, or, did you get a text message reminding them of my appointment? And, they're demanding more and more. And then they influence other people, and they are influenced themselves differently by, what influences them to make a move is different. And if you want to, and so it comes down to a lot of moments of truth. And I don't know if you read, there was a book called Zero Moment of Truth, ZMOT, and it's that at that point where your customer is ready to go ahead or make a purchase. But now there's many more moments of truth throughout the entire buying process. So to learn more about your connected consumer, and I really, really recommend you do it. It's a quick read, but it's a great book, is read Brian Solis's new book called What's the Future of Business, to really understand how to connect with these people, because it is different. And so, we had traditional marketing, which you all know about, and now really the key is that, it's a one-to-many. It's not one-to-one where you talk to your friend on the phone. It's one-to-many, and you've got your phone in your hand, and you check into Foursquare, and you might tell everybody how great things are or how awful things are. And it goes out to thousands and thousands of people at a time. So, there's powerful influence in people's hands and in their purses. And people, 70% of the people believe a total stranger in terms of what, what what their review is or what they say online, and people will just go right along and listen. So there's nothing we can do about that. What we have to do is make sure that the information we have online is going to represent you in the best way so that you can get that patient. So did you know, like I just said, 72% of consumers trust online reviews, such as personal recommendations, and that personal recommendations are the #1 driver of the consumer purchase decision at every state in the cycle. So it becomes a key thing. And so this is why you all are doing your real patient ratings, and you've got this great info. Now what are you going to do with it? So the first thing before we get into RPR and the ratings you're getting is going out, and maybe you take one a week, or maybe that's too aggressive, maybe take one a month, and that you promise yourself you're going to put it on the calendar, you're going to go to Health Grades this month and ZocDoc next month, and make sure that you have claimed your free listing and that you've filled everything out completely with keywords, and make sure all the information is new, because you might have done it 3 years ago, but that doesn't mean it's up to date, and they might have added more sections that you can fill out. And that's what I found a lot, like with LinkedIn. I might have filled it out 4 years ago, but it seems like every time I go back, there's some new thing, and they're saying, oh, your profile, which maybe it used to be 100% complete, now it's 70% complete because they've added a whole bunch of sections. So you need to go back in and kind of revisit these things and just check in. And so I would recommend just putting one on your calendar every month. And if you can do more than one a month, great. But just making sure that you're there and get those keywords, like Eva said, use those keywords to your advantage, because all of search is trying to get smarter to serve you up better information. So the more you can do now to get yourself ready for this next iteration of the web, like Web 3.0, you're going to be ahead of the game. Now, turn your reviews, specifically from RPR, but also, even when you get a card in the office, you might put it in a book now, or maybe make a photocopy. There's all kinds of things you might do with that. But what I'm trying to say is you want to take those reviews and turn them into shareable content. So how do we do that? So the first thing is, let's say we're on Facebook. You can have photo albums in Facebook. I'm sure you know that. And so you can make an album called Real Patient Ratings, or you could call it Real Patient Reviews, or Reviews from Our Patients. I mean, you could do anything you want. This one we happen to name Real Patient Ratings, and we kind of made it branded. So then inside there, when you click on that, then there would be, and if you look in the bottom left-hand side, a little branded copy, really, or typing out of what that patient's review was. And so you can do it that way. You can brand it like your practice. Like if you look in this Letters from Happy Patients, kind of in the top right, it's a physician who's in Laguna Beach, and so we have a picture of Laguna, and then every time we get a letter from a happy patient, then we put it and kind of create a piece of art. And so you might think, oh God, I have no creative bones in my body. How, Monique, do you want me to do this? And so here's my happy secret tip for you is PicMonkey.com right at the top. It is a free website. It's fabulous. They have a paid version, which I use because it's only $4.99 a month, and I swear I go in there every day, all throughout the day. But you can do everything from just resizing a picture, or if you have to, put a certain, when you go into Facebook and you have to make a new timeline and it wants a certain amount of pixels, like 851 pixels by 315, and you're thinking, what the heck is a pixel? Well, you don't need to know what a pixel is because you can go into PicMonkey, upload your picture, and crop it the right size. So really easy to use, really fun. They always have new little tools and fonts and stuff. So you can go in there and take some of the content you're getting from Real Patient Ratings and brand it like your practice and create this piece of art that can then be used around the web and put on Facebook or on Pinterest or tweeted about, or using it as kind of another extension, or giving it further life than what it's doing now. And even I had this happen. This actually happened yesterday. I had one of my clients, Dr. Alan Sod. He emailed me. I'm seeing, because there's little yellow marks that he must have had a Google alert set up on his name so that he would know when somebody's used his name. He found his, so he forwarded me the review. It was on locateddoc.com, and he said, Monique, can you put this up on Facebook and tweet about it? And I said, sure. So I went in, he gave me the link to the review. I took a screen capture. I went into PicMonkey, I cropped it, and I went in and put super and A+ on top, and then I was able to, that now was a piece of content, and I could post about it on his Facebook page, and I could tweet about it, and I could put it on his Google Plus page. And so now I'm taking that and giving it an extra extension of life. Then something to think about as you do this, some of the considerations would be branding. Do you want them to be branded like your practice? Or maybe you're deciding that you're going to, have them all look uniform and branded, or maybe you don't want to do that and you want to have it just be more of a photocopy of the greeting card that they sent you in the mail. You have to kind of figure out so that then when you make your album looks good. And then once you've made your little pieces of content, now you got to go post them. So, and I love this graphic, like this post, it cracks me up. So, and I didn't take the picture, and I looked all over to give proper attribution to who did, but I couldn't find it anywhere, but it's just too cute. So, so a couple things. Include links back to your site where the reviews are. So say you're going to post this darling little thing you've made on PicMonkey, and you're going to put it on Facebook. Well, now, where do you want them to go? So I want you to think about that. Do you want to send them back to Real Patient Ratings to see more of your reviews? Do you want to send them back to your website to see more reviews? Do you want to keep them in Facebook and have them, maybe you've posted more in your album and you show them the rest of the album? And there's different reasons for doing those three different things. You might, sending them to a third party website like Real Patient Ratings adds some legitimacy. Then they know, hey, this is this other vendor and this is where these real reviews are. Sending them to your website is excellent because that's where they're more highly likely to convert. But there's a lot of theories where keeping them in Facebook, if they're in Facebook, don't make them leave Facebook. So there's a thought of like maybe you want to keep them inside the Facebook environment. So, and you don't have to do the same thing every time. Maybe one time you're going to keep them there, another time you might send them to your website. You can see what works better. And then when you're making your post, crafting your post, use hashtags and keywords, and consider typing out the words in the graphic. Like here, we've typed the words and created a graphic out of those words. But Google can't read this as searchable content. It can't read the words, condescending or encouraging or Dr. Rourke. They can't. It's just a JPEG. So consider actually typing out what the person wrote in your post so that it's searchable. Really important. And then don't post. Let's say you're going to go and you're going to take 10 graphics a week and you're going to make little pieces of art out of them, or one a day or whatever. You might want to start an album with 2 or 3 things in the album, but you don't want to, flood the news feed every time you're uploading another picture in there. People are going to get really irritated, and they're going to hide you from their news feed, and they'll probably hide you forever from their news feed, and they'll forget they did it too. So in 2 months, they'll be like, oh, yeah, I never see your stuff. Well, you kind of probably made them mad 2 months ago by doing way too much at one time, and then they turned you off. So think about that. Maybe put a couple in when you make the album at the beginning, but then like back off and do it maybe once a week. You could call it, Trendy Tuesday, or I don't know, where you're going to have, something, or Testimonial Tuesday, except for we don't like that word, but something like that. Think about that. And then, where you can be posting these little pieces of content: Instagram, Twitter, Google+, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Pinterest. And speaking of Pinterest, so here we've got a part of a screenshot of some of the boards that we did for La Jolla Cosmetic. And so there's many places. So here they can learn about, hair, nails, and makeup, and fashion, and health and nutrition, and things that they just might love, and events that we're doing. But then in some of here, we've got letters from our patients where there's actual, photocopies of cards or some little art we made. We had some real patient ratings. We have patient stories and other things that are in there. So we've got lots of different ways speckled throughout the content for them to learn about what we do. And another little secret for you in your Pixie Dust is you can auto drip, like having an IV drip of medicine. Well, you can do that with your pins. You can actually have them come in at different stages that you set. And you could go to viraltag.com, and it used to I think it was called Pinnerly, but they've just gotten rebranded as Viral Tag. But basically, it allows you to upload a bunch of pins at the beginning, like in one sitting, and then you can say you want them to go out every 5 minutes or every 3 hours or every once a day or whatever you choose. So it's a nice way to, if you tend to be like me where you work in chunks and you could do a lot of one thing for a while and then you move on, it allows you to like get all that done, get it all scheduled, and let it just go. And then you can just go in to check on it. Okay, and just a couple more things before we wrap up and go to April. Facebook recommendations. If you've seen, they've got blue stars, not yellow stars, because they're all about blue. So Facebook recommendations, you have to be a place. So when you had your page set up, make sure that it was set up as a business or local business or place, and then that you have your address in your profile. And as long as you have those two things, then those recommendations are enabled for you, and people can just write a recommendation about you. So it's nice if you happen to know a patient's happy and the happy patient happens to be on Facebook, it's a great idea to ask him or her to write you a recommendation on there, and usually they're more than happy to do it. And then Google Plus Local. So Google Plus, about a year ago in June, merged the local places, which was the maps and the reviews, with Google Plus pages. So now you have this kind of combo thing. So once you're in Google Plus, then you can kind of hover over on the left-hand side, and you'll see a drop-down menu, and one of the choices is local. And when you click on local, then that'll bring up this page, and you can search in the search bar and put an area where you want to search for what, if it was pizza joints or skateboards or plastic surgery, and then where you are. And I don't even know if I typed it in L, and it was already like suggesting where I should be because based on where I am. And it'll give you results. Now, the people who came up in the results are the people who had Google Plus pages. So I'm seeing the reviews in Google. I'm seeing their listing. I'm seeing the map. And I'm seeing this because the ones I'm seeing at the top are because they have Google Plus page profiles. And there you can keep going down lower where people might have a map listing from the old Google local, but if they don't have a page, they're not coming up towards the top. And then if you notice, there's three different, it's got the blue line under everything, but top reviewers, you can click on that and see how people rank, or from your circles. So people that you yourself are connected with, then if you clicked on that, you could see, and for me, both of them were empty, so I didn't show them to you. But as Google Plus gets bigger and bigger, you're going to see more stuff there. So if you're a patient and you trust 70% or 72% of everything that you hear online from a total stranger, then you'll probably trust 100% of what you read from people that you do know. And so if I were to click on my circles and then it further filtered down my results, I'm probably very highly likely to at least make a connection with one of those, because I would say, oh, well, Judy knows them or Michelle knows them, so I'm going to click that. Okay, just one more minute here. And last thing we're going to wrap up with is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is, if you've been on there, recommendations have been around for a long time, and they're for first-party connections. So in any time, the best recommendations are going to be the ones who have a specific result that happened or tell a story of transformation, which is really great, because the lady who wrote this was one in my social media mentoring and certification class back in '09, and she happens to live here in San Diego, but her specialty is LinkedIn. And she doesn't work with doctors and work with doctors who specifically transform people. So it's kind of funny that, you know, they're just talking about in business in general. But this is really good news for you guys, because that's what happens when your patients are happy. They've, you know, had a transformation. Now, there's also, though, if you've gone into LinkedIn lately, it'll say, would you like to endorse so-and-so for these skills? And it'll kind of pop up, and they'll be 4 at a time, and you'll see their little faces and their little skill below their name, and you can click endorse or skip. So let's say this is showing you mine, my name came up, and they might say, do you want to endorse Monique for Facebook? So 20 people so far have said yes when my little face comes up, and 90 people have said social media marketing. So that's what those numbers mean, how many people have hit the endorse button when my face came up with that particular skill. Now, how do they know to get that skill, right? How does Facebook or LinkedIn know to do that? The reason they know is because you need to go in and fill in your skills. So for your physicians and yourself, if you want to, while you're there, go in and make sure that your physicians have, you know, Botox and facelifts and tummy tucks and Mohs repair, whatever your surgeons do, put every single skill in there. And then what will happen is the people that they're connected with, your doctor's little face will pop up. They'll say, do you recommend Dr. Berger for chemical peels? And you can say, yes, I endorse him, you know. And so it's kind of like the like button, but you're in LinkedIn. So it'll show you your top 10 things that you've been endorsed for, as well as other ideas or topics. So that's another really good thing to make sure that you're utilizing. As long as LinkedIn is giving it to you, it doesn't cost you anything, use it, you know, and that's what I'm really thinking about, all those different tools online. Use them as much as you can, because it's really only your time that it's going to take, but it's not your time and money, it's just your time. So that's all I have, and I'm going to pass it over to April, and I'll look, if there's any questions, I'll look to see if anybody asked any, and I can answer those to you, but let me change over to April so she can get on to the next little part.
Monique?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, perfect. So what I'm going to take you through in the next few minutes is how to do more with less. As Eva said, I am the data ninja, having come from over 15 years of evaluating data from plastic surgeons across the country. So what I want to help you understand today in regards to the secret dust is 3 things. I'm going to talk to you about fees and financing on the phone, and showing you the data that we've collected that validates why this is so important and how it can help you increase your scheduling rate at consult. Next, what I'm going to talk to you about is what materials are you sending to patients prior to consultation, and once again, how does this relate to increasing your scheduling rate? And lastly, following up to win, and how can the patient satisfaction survey that most of you are using for the main goal of getting more reviews also be a consultation closure tool. So here we go. What I think it's important to understand as we're looking for the 1 or 2 extra patients that we can operate on during slow times is that patients go through a relationship cycle of, am I going to make an appointment? Am I going to keep the appointment? Am I going to schedule surgery? And once I'm scheduled for surgery, am I actually going to keep that surgical appointment that I've made? My ideas today are going to help you focus on the first 3, which is actually getting that patient on the surgery schedule. So we're going to do our first poll, because personally I find it kind of interesting instead of just listening to somebody to get the chance to get some feedback from the audience. So what I would like to see you do is we put a poll up on the screen, and I'd like for you to respond. Do you provide fee range information to patients on the phone? And you basically have 4 different choices on how to respond. Only when they ask, never on the phone, always, whether they ask for it or not, or other. So please take a moment and fill out our survey. There we go. And go. Going to give it just a few more seconds here. 67% of you have voted. Okay, well, the good news is that there is no right or wrong answer. I'm going to provide you with some insight, but here's what the attendee said. 67% of you said you only provide fees when the patients ask. 33% of you said always, whether they ask for it or not. So kudos to you. You've probably heard this speech before, and I applaud you for following this advice, because as you'll see from the data, it is salient advice in regards to it works. So why and how does discussing fees and financing on the phone increase conversions? Because as Eva mentioned in her presentation, one of the top searches on the internet is fees and how much does it cost. So if we're going to go through the effort of doing some pre-screening on our website and let patients know how much it costs, why not apply that same philosophy to our phone interactions? Because at the end of the day, why would you want to have somebody come in for a consult, spend your valuable time, your staff's valuable time, to find out at the end of the consult that they can't afford it? So what I've got up here for you is just a little script that some of you on the call have probably seen this verbiage once or twice before. I've done a little update to it, but keep in mind that these are my words and my thoughts, and they're just a sample, and what I want you to do is share it with your staff and encourage them to customize it so they're comfortable with it. So every single patient that calls on the phone, if you do one thing and one thing only, it's let them know how much it costs. So our fee range for this procedure is $4,500 to $6,000. This includes the surgeon's fee, our OR, notice the change here, at our Quad A SF certified facility, because we want to know why we're different than the doctor down the street. Anesthesia, once again, why are we different? Because it's performed by a board certified anesthesiologist, and all the post-op visits conducted by Dr. Fabulous. And here's the most important part of this fee discussion. Is this within your budget? Let's find out right here and right now where we're at compared to everybody else that they're calling around, so that when they come into the office, this isn't an obstacle that we have to overcome. We've already addressed it on the phone. So after we've gone through this whole fee discussion, now we're going to go ahead and introduce financing. And we know, Real Patient Ratings knows the impact of financing on scheduling rates. And I'm going to show you on the next slide how that has an increase in the percent of patients that are going to schedule on consultation. So we accept cash, all major credit cards, checks, and offer affordable financing plans that not only make this procedure affordable, but you can continue to use this financing at our office for future services. And you notice your staff probably doesn't use this benefit when they talk to the patients on the phone. And the reason that I'm telling you that this is important is on the right-hand side over here is the data from the Real Patient Ratings dashboard that looks at, for those patients in green here, that shows financing, what was the top 3 benefits and why they decided to use Care Credit for the financing. And you can see over here, one of the top 3 benefits is I can use this financing over and over and over again, because if I like you and I'm highly satisfied, I am going to come back and visit your office time and time again. And many of you have heard that who've been on previous seminars, that highly satisfied patients return, they're loyal, and they refer. So let's look at the impact of financing, just in case you don't believe me. How important is financing? Well, what I'm showing you right here is when we start the discussion of financing on the phone, what we find is there's a 13% increase in patients that schedule the procedure at consult. And let me tell you, your staff's going to love the fact that it's one less patient that they have to follow up with after consultation. So here's how to read this particular chart. Overall, for the patients that answer these questions, 45% of them indicated that they scheduled the procedure at consultation. Now, when we compare this to the question of when were you made aware of financing, and when we look at the initial call, we can see scheduling goes up to 52%, which is why it's so important to talk about this on the phone. So We've answered the question of, am I going to make an appointment? Yes, because your staff has done a pretty impressive job on the phone of talking about you, fees, and financing. So now let's determine, am I actually going to keep that appointment and show up in your office and meet with you? So let's talk a little bit about your marketing materials and how effective are marketing materials in relationship to whether or not that patient is going to schedule for surgery when they arrive in the office, because our goal is less is better, less is more, and how can we figure out the fewest number of patients we need to see in consult and do the maximum number of surgeries. So what I'm showing you here once again is a report that I've built that looks at who schedules for a procedure at consultation, the 48%, and what we're looking at is when we break it down by the materials that the patients receive prior to consultation, what happens with our scheduling rates. And you can see over here, the top two appointment information materials are registration forms plus a printed brochure. And when they go online and they read the testimonials or what Eva was discussing as reviews, you can see we have a nice spike in scheduling rates. So if you're looking for that 1 in 4 additional patients to operate on this month, it's super easy to find them right there within your own practice. I think one of the things that's a little disturbing to me is most offices say, well, we already do this, April. You know, I already know this. Well, here's the challenge, is if we already do this and we already know this, then why is it that 40% of our patients down here said they never received marketing materials or anything from the office? Who's in the office who's managing the process to make sure that this established process is actually being followed? So what I want to move forward and talk to you about now is what sort of information should be included with this printed brochure? How do we know what the most effective materials are for our patients? And what are we going to refer to? We're going to go in and look at the data in regards to consultation satisfaction and look at the drivers. And in the drivers, one of the top pieces is education. It's education that's provided once that patient shows up in the office. It's how much does your staff promote the surgeon? That's the second driver in regards to satisfaction. The other driver that's so important to these patients is the procedure information provided by your staff. If we know these data points are so important once the patient shows up, why aren't we then sending the patient specific information prior to consultation so that our staff's role is just validating what they've already received? So just to give you a couple little samples, here's what one practice sends out. A personalized bio, yes, they do send out a brochure, but here's a bio about the wonderful Dr. Larson. It's complementing the rest of his marketing materials. It looks identical to his website. So as the patient is making some evaluations and comparing his practice to practice Smith down the street, they're thinking, wow, this practice took a little extra time, appreciates the value in receiving a brochure in the mail. Yes, it is. Maybe a little bit more work. Yes, it may cost you a little more, but the $5 investment in putting a brochure in the mail, I think, is a great return on investment when that patient schedules an $8,000 to $12,000 case once they arrive in the office. Samples of the marketing materials. Now, what are we going to go ahead and send them? We sent them out, the marketing materials. We also know the importance of that appointment confirmation email in relationship to making sure we have those patients read the reviews. Just like Eva said in her talk, we've got to use these reviews. So what we're going to do, we're going to send the brochure out 2 to 3 days prior to the consultation. We're going to send them an appointment confirmation email with a link to the consultation reviews on your website. Some of you may be familiar with the fact that we have lots of different tools set up on the Real Patient Ratings portal that allow you to split out the consultation reviews from the surgical reviews. So patients prior to consult come over and read about your wonderful bedside manner, your friendly staff, the comfortable ambiance, and for those that didn't schedule a consult, we now have a separate place that we can refer them to after the consultation. So what we've done is we have increased the number of patients that are going to make an appointment. We have increased the number of patients that are going to show up because we're using data to help us manage our practice. It's showtime, folks. The patients are now at your office and they're trying to make the determination, am I going to schedule with you or am I going to go on 3 or 4 other consultations? So what I would like for you to do now is I've got another poll. The patient came in. They had a pretty friendly visit with you in the office, and they've left the office, but guess what? They didn't schedule. So what I'd like for you to do is answer this brief little poll that I have up here in regards to what type of follow-up do you do in your office? How much follow-up, if any, do you do? Take a couple minutes to respond to this.
About half of you have voted.
Okay.
Let's close it. I don't think anybody else is going to vote, so here
All
are
right,
the
so
results.
here's the results. 20% make a phone call. Nobody right now is sending an actual letter in the mail. 20% are sending an email, and 60% do a combination. So great job for doing something. Something beats nothing every day of the week. What I wanted to provide you with, for those of you that are looking for, well, what's the one extra thing that I could be doing that I'm not doing right now? I know, April, you mentioned earlier that these surveys could be a consultation closure tool. So what I've got up here is just a sample follow-up protocol. Once again, sample, you've got to customize it per patient, by procedure, but we're going to send a letter immediately. We're going to have the coordinator call 4 days later. About 8 days later, we're going to go ahead and email the patient that follow-up email with a link to our surgery reviews on our website. At day 10 to 14, they're going to get the RPR survey. And at day 18, when your staff's trying to figure out how am I going to make my surgical goal that the office set for the month of, 25 or 30 surgeries, how am I going to make it? I've got that real patient rating survey as a tool to help me. And what we're going to do is we're going to call that patient or send them an email. And I've got a sample coming up here that says, once again, thanks for coming in and visiting our office. We hope you had a great visit. Wanted to get back in touch with you and let you know we're happy to redeem your $25 gift certificate in our office and apply it towards the surgery deposit. And we can help you make that dream a reality in regards to getting that surgery done. Please let us know how we can help. And the goal here, once again, is to keep in touch with that patient. What we know from our consulting and analysis days is it's not just one phone call, it's not 2 phone calls, it's multiple contacts. And the more that you stay in touch with that patient, the higher likelihood that you're going to capture that patient. It might be because of that letter that you send out asking them to redeem the coupon, and it might be something else. But have a plan and follow the plan. So how did we do? Why is this so important? Because April, I'm still not sure that I believe you. Well, let me show you the data and how this is going to speak for itself. Once again, this is coming right off the dashboard. And what you'll note here is we're looking at it just a little bit differently. Earlier, I was talking about, did I schedule surgery at the consultation? And the numbers here for all these people that didn't, that are going home and they're going to think about it, we're looking at how likely are these group of patients going to schedule for surgery in the future. So overall, as we read this report, we see that 63% of these patients have indicated they're highly likely to schedule for surgery, just independent of anything else. Now, what we've done is we've looked at the relationship with how satisfied are you with the amount of contact by this practice after consultation. So this practice is keeping in touch to win because they see the value in keeping in touch to win. And what do we see? For those patients that are highly satisfied with this office and the level of follow-up, these patients here, the highly satisfied ones, 75% of them have indicated that they're highly likely to schedule. This is compared to their counterparts that are just satisfied. Well, you just sent a letter. I didn't hear from you again. You just sent a letter. These folks are only scheduling at 44%, indicating that their likelihood to schedule is only 44%. Wouldn't you agree that if we did one thing extra, we could make a phone call or we could send that letter? And these are on patients you've already paid to acquire. You'll see a difference in your scheduling rate. This is globally overall. How do we look at this data? Now, I'm going to show you real quickly how you get into the reporting website. We'll send the directions. I'm not going to go detail by detail, but you can go into the reporting website through SMG, or you can go through the real patient ratings. I've got the directions up here on how I actually built the report. We'll send it to you. But here's your data. Here's the one that you ran in your individual practice, and what do you do with it, and how do you make the changes? So once again, what we're seeing over here is overall for this particular practice, Little Dr. Smith, 51%. What we see over here is he has a little bit of boom, just like the system. When those patients receive a brochure in the mail, he has a little boom when they go over and they look at the information on the website. But the shocking part is this practice is supposed to be sending out materials, and what they see over here is 43% of the patients didn't get anything and still scheduled. So what are we going to do? How do we use this? Well, what we do is we make sure for every consult that came in, we have the to-do list, and the staff member that's sending the materials out has to be held accountable for following our processes. So at the end of the week, what she or he does is they've got to provide some level of documentation to the manager, to the doctor, to say, here's the process, here's what I did, here's my next step for getting plan, and you follow it and you use the data. It's going to help you increase your scheduling rates, 1 to 2 cases potentially a week, or even more if you use the data and help that guide you towards the changes you need to make. So I really appreciate that we went over a little bit today. We're going to open it to any kinds of questions that you might have. All of us are available via email or phone as well.
I have one for Monique to start off with, and if anybody has any questions for us, put them in the questions box. Monique, can you talk about hashtags a little bit? I think the question is, how do hashtags operate in Facebook?
So, yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So recently, Facebook launched the use of hashtags, and hashtags started in Twitter. And all it is a way to go find a particular word. So if you put the number sign or the pound sign in front of the word, like let's say pound sign Botox, it will go find where that hashtag has been used and get those results. So, so if people are searching on that, so say somebody's out there and they're searching on implant or Botox, then they would see your post, even if they weren't following your page or a fan of your page, they would see your post and what you posted about Botox if you used that hashtag in what you wrote. But even so, and I would say some people are going crazy and they're putting just like gazillions of hashtags in every single post. I would keep it to under 3 or 3 at the most, and I wouldn't do it every day in every post. I would use it a couple times a week, just because some people are going a little nuts, and it gets really irritating to see it. But you'll see, like, for example, Instagram is very, very hashtag heavy. Like they'll put in the filter they used on the picture they took, and they'll put what kind of camera, and they'll hashtag all of it. And they'll hashtag, you know, beach if it's a picture of the beach, and sun and sand and water, and it's just the culture of that platform. So, but even if you don't use, my phone's ringing, that's crazy. Even if you don't use hashtags, use keywords somehow in your post. Like think about, because Facebook launched the graph search like, I don't know, 6 months ago, maybe a little bit more, like last November, and I blogged about it on our blog. But Facebook launched graph search, which is just basically saying that that all the posts that are public, everything that's written, everything that's set to public access in any of your profiles and anything you write can be searched. So you can go up into the search field and you could say, friends of mine who like basketball and pizza, you know, or pictures of friends of my friends who like basketball and pizza. You know, and you can load it up and make it as long as you want. You might not find anything if you get too detailed, but it'll actually go and find all that content from you from within Facebook and all of this, you know, mega material that's in there. So even if you're not going to use hashtags, you don't have to, make sure that you are using some keywords in your posts. It's not like, hey, look at this funny picture. Well, that doesn't, you could say, hey, look at this funny Botox picture, you know, and say a couple other things, you know, about it. You don't have to make it sound weird like some SEO, not you, Eva, but some SEO people make things sound weird because it's too keyword heavy. But you're going to just like, you know, you do it like in conversation, but think about that as you craft your posts. I hope that answered your question.
Absolutely. I actually learned some things, so I'm really glad I asked. I like that. I'm trying it right now, and actually I put in like friends who like the ASPS. And it's really fascinating to see how many people like certain things that we're looking for. So
yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting how you can get, you know, you could be in another city and trying to figure out where to have dinner, and you could say, you know, restaurants my friends liked in New York City.
wow.
And, you know, it's pretty awesome. It really is. So be thinking about it on the other end, and you can go read our blog post about it. I think it was around December, but it was kind of like it had just started, and I was trying to help people understand what they needed to do to be ready for it.
Well, I must have been under a rock. So now I thought I was going to be able to get up from my desk, but it turns out I'm going to have to play with this for a while. I think that's it. Please just give us a call if you have any questions, and thanks again for being here.
Yeah,
And I
thanks
will send
everybody. I
out
hope you have a nice evening.
slides and recordings will be in your inbox by tomorrow.
Thank you.
Bye. Good
Okay,
night.
bye.